Chapter 8 The Marvelous Adventure. Lady Tremaine stood nervously on the dock, waiting for Nanny Pinch, Anastasia, and Drizella to arrive. She kept looking at her watch pendant, worried they wouldn't make it to the dock in time. It was a grand and beautiful ship, all white and gold, reminding her of a many-tiered wedding cake. Every time the ship's horn blasted, she jumped, thinking it meant they were about to ring out the last call for passengers to board. But logically, she knew they had plenty of time. Her nerves were just a jumble. She had at least managed to arrange two very fine staterooms, one for herself, and some rather large quarters for Nanny Pinch, Rebecca, and the girls, all adjoining, of course. As she stood there, she felt like she was in a dream. It didn't seem real, the thought of leaving her entire household without seeing it again, or without saying goodbye to those who had cared for her for so many years. She had gone straight from the train to the dock. She would have been more upset, but it was all terribly romantic. The idea of her dearest love, so desperate to have her at his side, that he'd ask her to dash it all and come to him as quickly as she could. Just then she saw her precious girls and Nanny Pinch approaching in the carriage. Her girls were waving frantically, smiling and eager to bolt out of the carriage. The moment it pulled to a stop, they climbed over Nanny Pinch and bolted from the carriage, running straight into Lady Tremaine's arms. "Oh, Mama, we've missed you so much," cried Anastasia. "We promised to be good from now on," said Drizella, squeezing her mother tightly. Lady Tremaine was so happy to see her daughters. Seeing them made everything seem more real to her. They were the center of her universe, and she felt untethered without them. "Hello, my darlings. I am so happy to see you," she said, giving them both kisses. "And thank you, Nanny Pinch. You have no idea how much I appreciate you agreeing to come along with us to the many kingdoms." "I'm sorry I won't be able to stay with you longer than the first fortnight to see the girls settled," Nanny Pinch said. "But Lady Hackle explained everything, and I couldn't let you and the girls travel alone all the way to the many kingdoms." Lady Tremaine gave the young woman a smile. "Oh, but we won't be entirely alone. Rebecca will also be traveling with us. She is my new lady's maid. You will meet her on the ship. She is in our rooms making sure everything is satisfactory." Lady Tremaine reached for her daughters. "Come, Anastasia and Drizella," she said. "Take my hands. We are about to embark on a marvelous adventure." Lady Tremaine and her daughters sat together in a little sitting area in her stateroom, while Rebecca and Nanny Pinch unpacked their things in the adjoining room they would share with Drizella and Anastasia. The girls were on either side of her, as close as they could manage. She could tell they had missed her, and she, too, had missed them terribly. "My angels, what did Nanny Pinch tell you about our journey?" Anastasia spoke first. "She said we were going on a magical land with princes and princesses." Drizella scoffed. "We have princesses in England. I don't see how that's magical," she said. Lady Tremaine laughed. "That's true, my dear. But it seems the many kingdoms has far more royalty than London. I am told we are moving to a kingdom with a very jolly king and his son, the young prince who is about your age. Who knows? Maybe one day one of you will marry him," she teased. "But what of Shrimpy and Dicky?" "I thought we were to marry them," said Anastasia. Lady Tremaine grabbed their hands and kissed them. "Well, of course you will, darlings. I'm just teasing. We will arrange for you to visit Shrimpy and Dicky as soon as we are settled in our new home. You were very missed at the house party, and I bet the boys are eager to see you," she said. But she wondered how she felt about her girls being so far away from her, all the way back in London once they were married. She and Lady Hackle had it all worked out, their future set. Their children would marry, and they would be grandmothers together. Perhaps they would still have their dream, though she could no longer see it as clearly as before. Maybe we could talk Lady Prudence into spending the summer in the many kingdoms with the boys. "I'm sure they have coming out balls there, just as they do in England," said Lady Tremaine. Drizella's eyes grew wide. "Oh, imagine! There must be so many more courts in which to be presented. Oh, yes, Mamma, I think this is an excellent plan, she said. Now, said Lady Tremaine, what did Nanny Pinch tell you about our marvelous adventure? Did she tell you that I am to be married to a lovely man named Sir Richard, and that he has a daughter around your age, with whom I am sure you will become great friends? Did she tell you we are to live with them in their beautiful chateau? Lady Tremaine held her breath, wondering how her girls would react to the news. Yes, Mamma, said Anastasia. Which part of the many kingdoms is this? If it is to be our new home, shouldn't we know what to call it? Lady Tremaine realized with a start that she didn't know. Just then Rebecca and Nanny Pinch came into the room. Hello, dears. Anastasia has made me realize that, in all this rush, I have no idea in what realm in the many kingdoms we will be living. Isn't that ridiculous? She said, slightly embarrassed. Rebecca and Nanny Pinch sat down across from the trio. You will be living in King Hubert's lands, not far from where the Beast King and Queen Belle reside, Rebecca said. Lady Tremaine raised her eyebrow. You seem to know a lot about the many kingdoms, Rebecca, she said. Yes, my lady. I assumed Lady Prudence told you that is where I am from. Lady Tremaine started. She couldn't help flashing back to her last conversation with Mrs. Bramble and the old woman's warning. But before she could ask anything further, she realized Anastasia and Drizella looked frightened. What's the matter, girls? Why are you upset? Asked Lady Tremaine. Beast King? Asked Drizella. What is a Beast King? I don't want to live in a kingdom ruled by an ugly old beast. Nanny Pinch raised her hand for silence. Now, Drizella, remember what we talked about. Think about how you'd like to rephrase that. Rebecca laughed. Oh, that's not necessary. He was an ugly old beast, or at least some thought so, but now he's a beautiful king living his happily ever after with his true love, Queen Belle. And you won't be living in their kingdom anyway. Theirs is the next kingdom over from ours. Kingdoms don't usually intermingle, so your paths will never cross. Don't worry. Anastasia was confused. What do you mean the king was living his happily ever after? Isn't that what fairy tale authors usually say about the princess once she is saved by her prince? Rebecca laughed again. Well, in this story, it was the princess who saved the prince. Belle is the hero of that story. Drizella and Anastasia clapped their hands. Oh, I like that. I would like to meet Queen Belle, said Drizella. Oh, Mama, you're taking us to the most magnificent place. Thank you. She kissed her mother on the cheek. Lady Tremaine smiled and yawned. Come now, girls, Nanny Pinch said, standing up. Your Mama is tired, and I think it's time to let her rest. She took each girl by the hand and led them into the adjoining room. I love you, my darlings, said Lady Tremaine, blowing them a kiss. I will see you later at dinner. She was so happy her daughters were excited about this journey. Rebecca, you stay with me for a while, she said, when they were alone. What did you do with that book of fairy tales? I would like to read it on our journey to the many kingdoms. Rebecca cast her eyes downward. I'm sorry, my lady. It's in the crates down in cargo. I can find it for you the moment we get to the many kingdoms, as soon as I'm able to unpack. Lady Tremaine sighed. Very well. Then I am afraid you will have to answer all my daughters and my questions about the many kingdoms for as long as this voyage takes. Rebecca laughed. It would be my pleasure, my lady.